Hello, and welcome to another video. We'll be going over Deception and Infiltration. Combos on the screen you'll see on Imperial, however in game I'll be on a Shadow. So on the top left, we use Shadowcraft. I pretty much always use this. I highly recommend it. It turns your opener into a really deadly one, and on top of that, if you ever use Force Cloak, you can reset your Phantom Stride, which gives you more mobility, but it also gives you more damage. You can get 4 abilities off during this 100% crit window, and they are massive, so much so that you can hit 100Ks. Then I use Second Wind sometimes. This is really nice because it pairs well with the playstyle of Deception. You try when I get a kill, or you really wanted to try to get a kill fast. Totally butchered that. Apologies. And the extra movement speed that you get from it really helps the mobility, as the mobility is a little lacking if you decide to take Shroud out. For example, I don't take Shroud out, but it would help your mobility if you were to take that talent, for example. Or if you were to take like Maul Stun or something like that, it would also help your mobility. The cooldown of Force Potency, which is Recklessness, is reduced by 15 seconds. This is really nice because when you stealth out, it'll immediately reset your Recklessness rather than having like a 10-second wait. And also just having cooldown reduction on it is good, especially if you take the talent that reduces the cooldown of Recklessness by 5 seconds every time you use your filler. So I suppose whatever option you end up taking is totally up to you. I would say if you don't really have to worry about dying as much, I would probably forego the second wind, I believe it's called. I know that's a talent on Guardian Tank for some reason. I don't know why it's named after that. But going into our details, this is basically our standard stats. You could forgo accuracy if you wanted to. It's totally an option. I just go accuracy for consistency, and the damage loss is almost unnoticed. So what we're doing is 4 Alacrity and 1 AUG. The only reason I do the extra AUG is to smooth out the GCD. There's no other reason for you to do that. And if you don't have GCD issues, like you don't have GCD lag or GCD, like ghost GCDs, don't even bother. But of course, if you do, I highly recommend it. Then pretty much everything goes into critical after that point. I use the mastery stem, of course. I don't use the accuracy one, but there is another way that you could hit the accuracy threshold. It would be 2 accuracy AUGs, an accuracy stem, and 1 accuracy piece. If you wanted to, this would give you a little extra crit. Totally optional. Going into our talents, we have a lot of choices that you can make that aren't completely true. Sometimes going without Shroud, it's not the most unbelievable thing that you could ever do, though I don't really recommend it. The things marked in red are the ones that I basically recommend you to never take because they're not good. However, everything else does have a use, depending on what you're trying to do on the spec. However, the ones that I have highlighted are good. Do keep in mind the one underneath Undercharge Saber. There's one for critical, there's one for DR, and there's one that even reduces the cooldown of Recklessness. All 3 of these are really good, and I do recommend checking them out and trying them. See which one you like. The Recklessness one could be really good with may cause injury if you have high uptime and you're not dying, because that means you get more Recklessness, which means you can just get more discharges out, and it also means you can get more crits for your Maul. That's why we run the talent we do instead of Overcharge Saber. And thus, you'll see why I use Recklessness on Maul. Then going into our tacticals, may cause injury. This makes you discharge AoE after you've used a voltage stack, I think it's called, or whatever. Basically, it's just your fillers. So either Lacerate or Voltic Splash, I think it's called. And then 2 Cloaks. 2 Cloaks is just really good because it synergizes with Shadowcraft even more. And also the Insta-Nu kind of playstyle. If you use 2 Cloaks aggressively on somebody, chances are they're probably not living it. And if they are really tanky, or they had all their defensives. It is a very scary thing to try to sit there and tank. Unless you have defense chance. If you have defense chance, it's just usually just probably pick a different target. However, there are things you could do. If somebody does pop something like Saberboard, you can prioritize your yellow damage, and your yellow damage will still hit really hard. However, you just only have 2 of those, and you know they're already on cooldown. There's no point of resetting and trying to hit your white damage through Saberboard. That's really bad idea. Then we're going to go into miscellaneous first before we show the main combos. Assassinate, you pretty much use this anytime that you can. This will help with your energy management. It's a very cheap ability, and it's a good ability too. Low slash you usually want to do from at least 1 to 2 meters. It's more like I think it's like 5+ meters. So you got to be like really close to them, but not too close to them. So it actually has travel time. And when you have something that has travel time, so for example, concussion missile and low slash have travel time, you can get one ability off before the CC actually goes into place. Even though it looks like you're going to break the CC, they're actually still going to be in the CC. I'll show an example of that when I get into game. This has been a thing for a long time. You know, in other expansions I've showcased this, and I've done it in solo ranked and stuff like that. It's very, very good to learn if you're playing Deception. This does also work for your allies. So if your allies are hitting a GCD at the same time you throw your low slash, they can still also mirror you, and they won't break the CC. Same thing works with concussion missile, by the way. So when you have a lot of sends, stacking proper usage of low slash is pretty much impossible to play against because you will kill the target before you ever white bar them. They have to like break and pop something. It is really nasty. I have a couple solo ranked games from last expansion where triple maul was still a thing, and there was a lot of globals on operatives. Needless to say, you know, if you ever feel nostalgic, I have a whole bunch of old ranked videos. You can feel free to check this out. I did a lot of Deception before it ended up getting nerfed then. This is the last time that I actually really enjoyed it, but it's still pretty fun right now because of the extra DR that it gained. Now going into our combos, the first one, assuming that you're running may cause injury, you would lacerate twice before you even go in, so then you can get the may cause injury proc. So you can Phantom Stride into Discharge. The Discharge will be AoE. Then you move up Recklessness into Maul, so you can have the Maul crit. And then Reaping Strike, so you have the Reaping Strike crit too. You'll also have a proc. Forget to mention that. And then you can Discharge again because you pop Recklessness into Ball Lightning into Reaping Strike again. However, the alternate one is to Phantom Stride after lacerating twice into Voltic Slash, so you can get your critical chance or just get your DR stacks immediately. Into Discharge, into Recklessness Maul, Reaping Strike, and if you're running the May Cause Injury tactical, you can Voltic Slash again into Discharge to make it AoE into Ball Lightning into Reaping Strike. Now, if you're not running that and you're running 2 cloaks, you can just Discharge into Ball Lightning without ever having to use Voltic. Other than that, there's not really anything crazy about it. This is a proc-based spec, so your main filler is Voltic Slash. Lacerate will also do the same thing Voltic Slash does, however, it's just worse, but you can use it at any point. You don't need a target for it, so sometimes it's very useful. And again, for energy management, stealthing out and or using auto attack or assassinate, usually assassinate will help with your energy issues. But those are things that you can use to help with your energy. It's really not too hard. The only way you can really mess up is you're spamming Maul too much. Basically, just go off of procs. It's not super complicated. You want to basically find whichever first window you prefer and just stick to that because you need that consistent damage. And going into game now, I want to showcase what I mean by stacks. So when I get to these, I have 2 stacks and I have May Cause Injury. So when I go in, I can Phantom Stride into Discharge, that'll be AoE, and I pop Recklessness into Maul, get the Maul crit. Now, normally I don't do the combo this way because I don't really like do the combo that way, but that's an example. So if I was to take the crit chance talent for a second, so I can show you. Alright. Let me get 2 stacks real quick. So I'll open up and I'll immediately do this into Discharge, into Reckless, into Maul, into Reaping Strike, into Discharge, into Ball Lightning. And unfortunately I didn't crit, so I didn't get Reaping Strike, but that's the opener that I prefer, and the reason why I prefer it is because it allows you to get the higher Shadow Strike and Voltic Slash hits. You can totally do it the other way because it's a little bit more upfront. Hell, you can even prioritize just trying to get your make less injury off. Sometimes that's really good. If it's a big clump, I really do recommend it because discharge hits really, really hard. So for example here, I can do this. So we'll do discharge, pop recklessness, voltage slash into discharge again. And then we could still follow with a mull after that, but I didn't actually use it. That would be ideal if you want to maximize your discharge AoE. Also, if they're just, let's say, they have defense chance up, it'll be better to use your ball lightning or psychokinetic blast because it hits like, let's say 60k and then it's like a 20k tick. It's pretty nasty. I'll show you real quick. So when I do this, that's unprocced. Okay, that's completely pointless, but it still hits a lot, right? There you go. I see 40 plus a 20, but I totally messed that up. So since I had the right keybinds, I'm going to show that again and not mess that up, hopefully. I am talking and trying to remember how to play. Okay, now we can. I got a proc for it. There we go. So there we go. We got a 16 and a plus a 14. That's not terrible, right? But it's not like super amazing. But you get the idea. If you were to re-stealth, you would already have a proc and you'd immediately go into it. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions about deception, feel free to ask. Oh, right. So what I mean by the low slash show, when you're like here, you can go like this and see how that's melee. But the moment that I get enough range on somebody, so it's a little tricky, but I'll show you. If you're too close, it'll do what animation that I just did. However, if you're above 5 meters, I think it's like 5 or 6. 6 is probably like good, but we'll try to do it here. So see how it travels? As soon as I hit this button and it starts going, I can move up and I can like hit an ability and it won't break the CC. I do have that in a couple of my other guides, which this guide will be in a playlist with a lot of other ones. I highly recommend checking those out. It'll showcase it in actual action on an actual player. So if you're curious about that, it'll be there. But again, if you guys have any questions about deception, feel free to ask. I'll be more than happy to help. It is relatively very simple, and its durability is in question, but it does have some decent DR now that if you take this talent. However, you pretty much kind of have to take talent if you want to have decent durability. Again, no heals, no DR on your defensives, so take that with a grain of salt. Other than that, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and hope you learned something.